All right, we just had Dr. Will Maginness on the podcast, everything to do with veterinary and health. It was amazing talking about dog health overall in general, food, vaccines. We touched on a lot of shit.
Yeah, like what to feed your dogs. The vaccine stuff is pretty cool about like desexing the dogs, the rules around that, and how bad kibble is. Pretty all kibble. Chuck that shit out, right? You just don't want it. And how he's got his own like dog food, like really clean dog food he posts out to people now. So really cool info for people that have dogs and want to learn more about feeding dogs and keep our fur babies long and prosperous lives so they can fulfill their legacies.
Yeah. Tune in. All right, well, welcome back to the Corrective Culture Podcast. Today we have Will Maginness, who is really into dog health and holistic dog health at that. So
a vet.
Yeah.
A vet. Yeah. So good to have you on, man. Like I said, a friend sent me your video probably a few months ago now. He's like, got to get this guy in the potty.
Yeah.
And then I went through, just basically there was a video where you broke down like why. I think you said like, do dogs have the most cancer rate of any other animal on Earth?
I saw that video.
More than any other species on the planet, which is just wild.
That is wild, dude, because it's clear when you can see it, like to put an example. So we both got a Hungarian Vizsla, right? Cool dogs. Yep. Yeah. And this is like this big professional breeder that, that you're meant to go to and whatnot. And the food, it was like, what was the food? It was
kibble.
It was kibble, but what one was it? It was meant, they spoke about it like it was a good one. Right?
Oh yeah, that's right. It was that heart health one, and
I can't remember. Was it Crown or something? I don't know. Royal maybe?
Yeah, Royal Macaan.
Yeah, maybe.
Royal Canin.
That's it.
Right, yeah. And then I looked at the ingredients on the back, and there's a quote I always talk about on this potty, and I live by in regards to rehabbing the body and health with the body. And it's nothing makes sense in biology except in the light of evolution, which is a quote from a evolutionary biologist years ago. So basically it's a reference point to think, okay, we're like a little bit of a guidance of what got us here, what got dogs here in regards to, I know the dog wasn't evolved eating hydrolyzed soy protein and canola oil and all this sort of shit, and how many dogs do you see that's riddled with tumors, and it's still the approach, let's just go cut it out. And no self-reflection, no reflection. And I know, I'm interested to hear your experience, because as you've gone through vet schooling, when you were going through it, did you believe it from the start, or straight away did you have a caution and you were just taking what you want and leaving what you didn't want?
It's a great question. And when I really think about it, my pathway to vet school was quite alternative. I followed the elite football route, and I was always like Aussie rules, where I'm down in Victoria.
Yeah,
so I was very alternative with how I approached my football as an elite sportsman, from a health perspective and a diet perspective, and trying to get every last percent out of it to obviously get those gains. And then football didn't work out. I got injured, and that part of my life was over. And then vet school and becoming a vet and loving animals was always going to be my route. It was just a matter of when. So when I entered vet school, and I was already in that mindset of how I looked after myself, and I just started blatantly see that kind of, holistic approach. And it's not rocket science whatsoever. It was just, why isn't this being translated to how we approach dog health? And that was kind of a very quick wake-up call, and just many, many things, not just from a nutrition standpoint, but from a pharmaceutical, from an antibiotic, from a vaccine route. There was just so many where I don't think true common sense is being put to the way that we treat and look after dogs. So that was kind of my path, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, right. And in regards to say nutrition, like how did you reference your learning in the nutrition for the dogs, right? Because was there nutrition training in vet school for around the dogs?
Yeah, so I sometimes speak about this. We had more nutrition training in vet school on ruminants, which are cows, sheep, and horses as well than dogs, which is a crazy concept to ever consider because 90% of vets that graduate treat dogs and go into small animal medicine rather than your cows, your sheep, your farm animals. So that was just a bit of a, alarming in itself. And then from the point of view, we'd always get free lunches and there was free seminars, and they're always sponsored by, Royal Canin, Hills, which are the huge kibble companies of the world that control and sponsor a lot of the vet schools. So short answer is no, we didn't get any training or tutelage around canine nutrition. It was just push that, this is a complete and balanced diet for dogs, and it comes in the form of brown biscuits.
Yeah, right.
That lasts forever.
Yeah.
That has a shelf storage of like 25 years.
That's crazy, man. It's like cheeseburger, right?
Don't ask any questions, eh?
Yeah. Because you see it, man. Like I've seen other vistas. Like, so basically the way I feed my dog and Jake's feed his dog is basically meat, and we rotate the meat. So, and I just listen to the dog, like in regards to, like, even there's certain things, like she won't eat raw chicken, but she eats it cooked. So I give her cooked chicken. She'll eat raw beef. She loves raw beef. Beef's probably her favorite.
Yeah.
She likes a bit of venison, but not 2 days in a row, because it's lean. Same with kangaroo, a bit of variety. And I only give her vegetables that she eats by itself. So if I give her a piece of carrot and she eats it, I'll give her that, right? But if, say, let's say, what is it? Maybe celery she didn't love or something, even though some dogs I'm sure is fine, she spits it out. So I just don't mix that into her meal. So I let her choose intuitively what individual vegetables she eats, and then I can use that as her fiber. Because I have noticed that if I've just given her meat, I'll catch her eating grass. Which I'm not sure if that's probably a normal thing. I don't know. But if I give her a little bit of fiber, and not even much, right? It's still probably 90% meat. But that's good for her, man. She looks so healthy. Like, she's never had an issue. But I see same as the way I see it in humans, I see inflamed dogs, just inflamed to the hills. Like, they got this little layer of fat on them that I'm like, you're a wolf, you're a wolf.
Yeah.
And then they get tumors cut, and they stink. Like, there'll be other dogs that just stink, which I'm probably sure it's the diet. Like, 'cause I'm aware of even my BO. If I eat bad food or drink alcohol, my BO will stink, but it will smell pretty neutral if I'm on top of it. So the body's always communicating with us all the time, and your dog's body's communicating with you. But I guess it's just, for a lot of people, it's just a cheaper option.
Yeah, I think they treat it like, if you're not looking after your own body, then how are you going to look after your dogs?
Yeah.
Like, I get people come around and my dogs are on good water and they're like, what? We just give them like out of the tap in a plastic bucket. Like, that's kind of the thing.
Because they drink the tap water.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And a lot of my like close friends and family and stuff, they're just not educated. And I think they, but then they spend so much money on like eye stuff for the dog because their eyesight's going early, or they got tumors in their back legs, or like just all this weird shit. And I feel passionate and fucking annoyed about it too, because it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's an animal that wants to, and they do resemble unconditional love. But when you're having when you're just feeding them shit, it's just like they just don't get that quality of life, and they're acting lame, and they're just like, I see it in so many dogs, and it's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's an awareness thing, because everyone's starting to treat, like, dogs are well entrenched in people's families now. They're part of, sleeping on the bed, but people don't put two and two together that, the way that we treat ourselves has to be the way that we treat our dogs too. Like, like, start waking up to that fact. Like, people are spending so much money on different aspects of bedding and accessories, but if you spend some money and get things right from a nutrition standpoint, then you avoid the vet bills down the path. So I think it's honestly, and that's why I'm so passionate and what I preach online, it's awareness and education, because it's just, people don't think outside the box.
Yeah.
So if I start prodding and poking and getting people to question a few things, then it's a no-brainer. It makes sense. So that's probably where it all comes down to for me. And yeah, the whole processed food, and like going back to what you were speaking about, meat and adding the fiber. And I think what the veterinary and pharmaceutical world have done so well is kind of complicated nutrition and given this complete and balanced nature that everyone needs to follow. There's a science to feeding dogs, and they need this amount of nutrients, they need this amount of vitamins, minerals every day in every meal. But human health's not like that. We feed a variety of foods all day, every day. And over the course of a month, we're getting zinc from, oysters, for example. Or we get aspects, and that's what obviously fuels us and give us that complete and balanced nature. But dog health is just made so complicated, it freaks people out and gives people that fear aspect. So don't get me wrong, dogs need variety. And if I was going to touch on your dog's diet, like meat and just a bit of veg, to me as a vet, is probably not enough from a nutritional standpoint. There's other aspects that need to be introduced to that. But real food trumps processed food. There's nothing worse than processed food. And there's no worse food on the planet than kibble. Like, it's 4 times heat treated. It's got that shelf stable that I was talking about. So
Yeah, right.
and that provides that chronic inflammatory cascade to the gut, where your dog's always just grumbly, not feeling great. And the first signs are it's not months, it could be years down the track where that's just got all too much, and you start seeing it in the skin and coat health.
Yeah, sick. So from what's your like, say I give it organ meats and bones and whatnot, but I sell gelatin, like organic gelatin. So I've chucked gelatin on. I've given her, I reckon, more gelatin than any dog's had in her life. Just because we sell it, and I'm like, when she was a puppy, I'm like, I just want that strong connective tissue, right? It's like when I did my LCL, man, I loaded up in gelatin, and God, I healed it quick, man. Like I did an LCL in a jiu-jitsu comp, and remember, a week I couldn't put weight on it the next day, and then a week later I could sprint in a straight line. Couldn't do lateral movement yet, but I was blown away, and my skin got so tight. But anyway, in regards to optimal dog nutrition, like, what do you feed your dogs?
I've just launched the dog food business, so
Oh, sick.
Nice. Yeah, plug away.
I'll give
definitely.
that the plug. It's called 5 Hounds by Dr. Will, but that's many years in the making of what I feed, and it's a mixture of meat, veg, fruit, nuts, offal, and a couple of supplements. And I think that's the most complete food for my dogs. And the whole reason that kind of evolved was I wanted to sleep at night knowing that my dogs are getting the best nutrition. I feed them once per day, and it's lightly cooked. So going back to, your dog choosing cooked chicken over raw chicken, but raw beef, I think over time, dogs, yes, evolved from the grey wolf back in the day. There's not one dog on this planet right now in the Western society that hasn't had access to kibble, or their ancestors have had kibble, and the gut microbiome has been passed down. So the pH of all gut stomachs has changed from the grey wolf days. So still having that ability to digest raw food still takes a bit of effort from the stomach. So from a vet standpoint, it's easier to digest. It's easier on the digestive system, but it also gives me peace of mind knowing that the bacteria, we heat treat very lightly, and just, yes, dogs can handle bacteria a lot better than us humans, but don't get me wrong, we do see dogs every now and then from Salmonella, E. coli poisoning from raw food. So it's a lightly cooked product. But we launched 6 months ago, about 5 months ago now, and it's been going really good and completely consumed my life.
That's cool,
That's
man.
awesome,
Well,
dude.
it's helping the world, eh? Yeah. So, and again, back to evolution, I think, like, we would have chucked the dog the scraps after we cooked it in the fire when we found fire, whatever it was, 800,000 years ago or something, So I'm sure dogs did have a lot of that cooked sort of produce, and that it's changed. So in regards to like nuts and that, what sort of nuts do you find is okay for dogs?
So it's funny, like I always resort back to, there's like 5 things dogs can't have, and they're the common foods, like raisins, onions, macadamias, and that's a nut that pretty much never go near.
Right. Okay.
But for example, your almonds, your Brazil nuts, those type of things, everything in moderation, and as long as they're blended up, right, for so they can absorb properly and get the most amount of nutrients. I think those nuts are fantastic, and I include them all the day, all day, every day. But I think variety is key, and I love hearing that you're feeding offal and bone, because those two are the most nutritional dense foods to a dog. like from a bone, as long as they're consuming that bone, they can draw out the perfect calcium phosphorus ratio, which is very important for growth and development. So yeah, and then offal, obviously, your liver,
Yeah.
your kidneys, and all that type of thing is just jam packed with nutrients. So, but yeah, just I think you steer clear of a few toxic foods to dogs, and the rest you can just in moderation just slowly filter throughout.
Yeah, we sell a product called King and Queen. They're for humans, right? But it's liver and testicles for men, and liver, fallopian tubes, and uterine tissue for females from organic cows. And I give the dog the female one, and she loves it, man. It's like a little gelatin capsule, and she just the dogs love it, eh?
Yeah, my dogs get it every night.
It's like a little
just
supplement,
one each. Like,
yeah,
I take two, and then
yeah. But they love it.
So
it's like the little,
with diseases for dogs, and like if a dog comes into the vet hospital and it's got kidney disease, my first point of call is that dog needs to start consuming kidney,
kidney.
right?
Yeah.
And going to your product, like that makes sense for men.
Yeah, same with humans, man. Yeah, that's what I think about it. Yeah,
that's really cool. I did want to ask, because my dog's gone through we touched on it earlier. She's got like itchy paws, and I was thinking like maybe I need to switch her diet. Well, I definitely do switch her diet up a little bit. She's a Chihuahua cross Tibetan Spaniel, so my Vishla like just is thriving, but she's got like obviously something going on, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe it needs to be like something a little bit more like variety in her diet. I'm the same as Callan. It's always like rotating her meats, but a lot of it is raw. Maybe cooking it might help that. But what comes to mind when you think of a dog with itchy paws?
Yeah, so like in the vet space, we talk about environmental allergens and then food allergens. And like we don't truly have food allergens. They're more sensitivities or intolerances with dogs. But to me, I always go back, yes, environmental allergens do exist, and they can exist. And don't get me wrong, there's grass, there's dust, there's mites, there's all
sprayed.
Things, but yeah, spray, exactly. But they can't come to fruition if the gut is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back always to food for me. There's plenty of dogs that have been diagnosed with kikuyu grass, for example, and sensitivities to that. And obviously the pause is a kind of alarm bells going for me. Well, it's a contact allergen, so probably most likely to do with somewhere where the dog's walking.
Yeah.
If you get on the top of the gut health, then that doesn't allow that to actually prosper.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is I truly believe, yes, you should be cooking for your dog, but going down into the proteins. And if chicken's a repeat offender with dogs and intolerances. And why I say that is it's one, factory farmed and pumped with a lot of crap, which I don't advocate for from a welfare standpoint, but also from protein for dogs. But it's been overdone in dogs. Dogs are on chicken every day, every meal of their life. And as I was saying before, that microbiome is passed down. So it's just an irritating protein to many dogs. So I just say wipe out chicken completely. And that's chicken meat, but also chicken treats and eggs and anything related to chicken.
Yeah.
And then beef is the next one. And it's a funny one because chicken's obviously the cheapest protein, the most readily available. Beef is the second popular protein. But that's the reason, because they're just overdone in the dog space. So I go to more novel proteins and cooked versions of them. And a novel protein's a protein that dogs have never been, I guess, fed before. So the gut has never been able to build up a response. And they're goats, venison, potentially, kangaroo, emu, those type of animals that, dogs do really well on. And I think that's probably what you should look into. But
that's cool.
It's not, when things are vulnerable and compromised and you've got those itchy paws, it's probably going back to very simple and not going for variety as such.
Yeah.
Just choosing one protein, give it a good 6 weeks and see the response. And then you can start introducing as you go. And there's no dog with itchy paws that, we can't fix and get a lot better from starting with food.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's cool. And that's a good point you touched on before about organic food. Like, just for the listeners, like when we talk about feeding our dog meat, like our dogs are on all organic food. That's a big thing. Same with humans. Like, it should just be known. It's like,
well, and I think also people can go get, like, all kangaroos wild.
Yeah.
They don't farm kangaroos, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can get kangaroo mince from Woolies, fair bit of it for like $10, and that will last a while. I just know with honey, I got to definitely add some like fat to it too.
Yeah.
So what do you ever add like coconut oil or anything like that, man? Or
Yeah, coconut oil, yes, sometimes. I like from an oil standpoint, hemp seed oil, flaxseed oil,
Okay.
walnut oil. Those are the ones that I generally lean towards. Cod liver oils are great. It's got vitamin A, vitamin C.
Yeah.
That's a great one because I use these oils, yes, for skin and coat health, of course, but sometimes they also increase absorption.
Right.
And they also provide some vitamins and minerals that other foods can't. So, the hemp seed oil is a big one that's coming out, and we source from South Australia, and that's pretty spot on too.
Sweet. Yeah. I'll give her some cod liver oil. Yeah. I just drizzle a bit of that. Crack an egg once in a while.
Yeah.
Try not to give her the same thing all the time, you know?
Yeah.
I did make a mistake with chicken when she was younger. I'd give it to her a lot. And then all of a sudden one day she's like, no, don't like it anymore. Loved it before that. It's like, no. I was like, all right. Okay.
Well, how's I just got my stool kit back?
Oh, did you?
Gut microbiome, and I've got like a microbiome in there that is caused from a dog. So
Really?
yeah, like blastocilius. It's pretty common, but it's usually from pets.
Yeah.
So like yeah, if a dog's ever licking your face or anything like that, or
So that's all that come up?
no, and I got 2 other ones that are like
Wow.
pretty bad.
That's
yeah.
so good that you've...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're from, I think they might have been from traveling or something like that, but same as my dog. It's like if my gut's not optimum, because I've been having these like little, like it feels like a trapped air pocket in my colon. I got all the scary tests out of the way and fucking got all that stress done, so there's nothing too serious. But then I got my gut microbiome done. I was like, well, there's 3 things in there that are like, one is exactly what I've got. It's like it gives you like UTI type symptoms, which is like you feeling like you need a pee. And before I went to Japan, I had that. And I was like, holy fuck, man, this is crazy that they can test all this. And everything else was really good though. It was just three weird strains of like I can't remember what it was, but they're not good.
And have you got some sort of protocol now?
Yeah. So I just got to like cut out like sugar, rice, grains.
Yeah.
Like not have it at all.
Yeah.
And then like adding different type of probiotics in.
Okay.
Yeah, but and I had 1 parasite too.
True.
Yeah, but no worms, no nothing
Yeah.
like that. Just but it's super interesting. And
Yeah.
I think it relates definitely to our animals as well.
Yeah, because touching on that, man, we sell a parasite cleanse for humans. One of the things, and crazy common. Like we get sent photos of parasites every single day, right? Because now it sells all around the world, and definitely more common than people think. And people go get their stool tests and pass the test, and still have parasites. So again, they have all these symptoms. That's like all these parasite symptoms, but then they get a piece of paper that tells them they don't. So then there's a level of disconnect there because they're trusting this piece of paper when that's already not so accurate. And I know obviously you can get it from dogs and whatnot. It seems to be liver flukes actually the one that people have the most. So I actually got them in Tokyo too. I had sushi in Japan and got them. So I've done the cleanse heaps. And it's always been fine. It's been cash. And then I got back from Japan, had the herbs, and 2 hours later they come out of me, all these liver flukes. And then for the next 3 days they came out. But that seems to be probably like 80% of the parasites. And I know they're really common in like sheep and things like that in livestock. But
Yeah, and cattle.
so I saw a video of you once, and it's funny. My dad actually told me this ages ago how, you know, how you're talking about garlic and onion, right? And how people obviously throw garlic into the, you know, Allison onion family. But you give your dogs garlic as a natural sort of safety protocol, don't you? Instead of having to nuke their gut all the time. Because is a anti-parasite protocol for a dog, is that similar to antibiotics?
Not really.
Yeah.
Different drug, but does as much damage in my experience.
Okay.
But yeah, like we know a lot about antibiotics and what they do to the gut health, but the chewable for ticks, fleas, worms, that's a pesticide, and that works in the dog depending on the duration of action of that drug. And generally that's 1 month. And it actually attacks the neuroreceptors of the dog. And that's where it gets really scary from my point of view. So that's why I'm very fortunate. I live obviously Victoria, where the climate's not very friendly towards ticks, and like the tick paralysis and ehrlichiosis, they're the two scary ones that you need to be on top of, because they do, they can kill your dog and do lasting damage. But I use garlic and I use other remedies to avoid that, so I don't have to go down that Western pharmaceutical route, because it's just not good. And a lot of the side effects of these drugs aren't actually, I guess, reported or pinpointed. No one's actually that in tune with how their dog's feeling.
Yeah.
And, they might just sleep a little bit more, or they might just scratch or itch, or throw their legs out every now and then, that people just don't look at. They're at work, they're not seeing 9 to 5, those type of things. So they get unreported, but when you really look into it, I think it was affecting over 67% of dogs, if they have a monthly chewable, in one way or another, having an adverse effect to it. So
Wow.
it's scary. And anyway, I use garlic, and I think garlic's great. Touching on your point, like the thiosulfate of onions make them poisonous or toxic to dogs, but garlic has 1/15 thiosulfate compared to onions.
Right.
So of course, fed in moderation, and online I do put my feeding guidelines and dose rates. But yeah, like in human health, we know garlic, what it does to us, and I always reach for garlic when I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, and a bit of garlic, a bit of honey, and it fixes me right up, and it cleans me out, and it's just such that natural antibiotic effect. So I think absolutely, if it's not toxic, not poison, then why can't we use it in dog health?
Yeah. And just for people listening, like, what do you just give them, like 1 clove each, or how
Yeah, so generally speaking, it's like half a clove up until 10 kilos, 10 to 21, 20 to 30 kilos, 1.5 cloves, 30 to 40. So you're never feeding over, 1 to 2 cloves the kilogram of your dog. But yeah, like the study, there's plenty of studies done over the last 20 years, and shows, it has zero effect. I don't know where the old wives' tale of toxic garlic to dogs has kind of been, but we're taught it in vet school. But when you really look into it, no, it's false.
Yeah, right. And how often do you give that to your dogs?
So yeah, I would probably be feeding it twice a week.
Yeah.
I don't go overboard. It's just something, like going back to that variety chat, it's just something that you just throw into the mix, and it's just part of building their immune system and having them.
And they eat it as a part of the mix, or part of 5 pounds. You just chuck it in and just.
Yeah. So it depends on your dog's palate, essentially.
Yeah.
My dogs, I've been very fortunate in the way that I've fed them throughout their life, is they take to anything, they eat everything. But you've got dogs that will turn their nose up to garlic, of course. So my kind of tip to those people is you just put it in a nice juicy piece of liver, because every dog will take a raw piece of liver that's bleeding and has that aroma to it.
Yeah.
And you hold it in there, and they'll smash it, and happy days.
Yeah, true. I got some liver in the freezer. I got a defrost for her. Actually, that's reminded me to give it to her. Right? Have you ever caught much like slack from the vet community, man? Like, because what you're talking about is what opposite what they would have been taught, right? And it's like we've copped that from people in the medical industry or the physical therapy industry or whatever. That are so overly not clinical based, but just evidence based. That's what if it doesn't exist in the evidence, then it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Have you ever copped much of that, or because what you're talking about is so simple, but also
scary.
common sense. It's very common sense, and it's hard to debate what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So have you heard much of that?
Yeah, no, I have, absolutely. So like, I think it's just part of the parcel, and unfortunately, initially when it started occurring to me, it definitely got me down, and I had a few sleepless nights, and you definitely rethink and kind of go, am I right? Am I on the right path? I guess that's the point of them. And I just go back to, staying true to myself and my values, and everything I say and I preach, I triple check. I like, as much as I believe in anecdotal evidence, like absolutely, I think that's the power of, you've got this experience, you've seen it firsthand, it works. But yes, I'm a scientist at heart too. So I always read the scientific articles. I always look in, and I always preach what is backed by science too. It's just, you got to go dig deep for those type of things, and make sure that the study's not funded by
Yeah.
someone who has a bias to that. So I have copped a little bit. And there's a few particular people that continue to come after me, but there's not one study, and going back to the basic, there's not one study that says kibble in the world, right, is better than fresh food.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say to vets, is that it's as simple as that. Kibble, there's not one study debunking the myth that fresh food is worse. So when I put it as simply as that, and the fact that the process, all the study going into human health and processed food, and that kibble just falls well and truly into that boat, no one can really argue. So it's just, I think it just comes from a point of, I don't know. I'm honestly not sure whether it's tall people trying to cut me down, or people being so, I guess, conformed to the way that they were taught, and staunch about their beliefs. And that's one thing that I always stand for, is I always want to listen and be open to change, and open to say, hey, I was wrong. But a lot of people, I don't think, are able to. So I prod. I don't, a lot of things I prefer when I'm speaking to vets, and not make statements and tell them how it is. I just ask questions that trigger a response, and people, actually maybe there's another way to do things. So, there's definitely change. And the more I've gone online and spoken about this, more vets are approaching me, and more vets are saying, wow, I actually know. How did you learn this? Where did you get your information from? Which is exciting, because there is change occurring. It's just a slowly, it's a slow transition.
That's amazing, man. We had a buddy up from London the other day, is a really smart fella, and he was saying, like, a cardiologist, obviously they focus on the heart, but we know that food has a massive direct effect on the heart. But if you were to say to someone who's studied 10 years on the heart that food has the effect, it's kind of like, you can see where they'd be like, well, I'm the most knowledgeable in the heart, and that's too simple. So it kind of, you can see how there's a little bit of a angst there around, like, who's right. But it's not really about who's right. It's about what's best, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like those, I don't think they have 1 day of nutrition study when it's what is going to affect the heart. You have 3 coffees, all of a sudden your heart's not feeling too great.
Yeah, the story we like to say is this guy was on 19 Red Bulls, right? One of our friends' clients.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this guy, man.
And he was coming up to be a professional rugby union player, and they were treating him for heart problems.
It was a baseball player.
Baseball player, sorry. Yeah. Facts. And I was just like, this is fucking crazy, because the heart's having palpitations, and no one once asked him what he was eating, drinking, or anything. And it turns out he's having 19 Red Bulls a day. And then they put a pacemaker on his heart.
Yeah.
Like, without dropping off the Red Bull.
Yeah. So, and he just did it, man. And to put that on there, they had to cut through his pec minor and not reattach it. So he's got no pec minor. And the pec minor is the deceleration of the cocking arm. So as your arm goes back, the pec minor is meant to eccentrically lengthen and sort of sling that back. And so basically, he'll be very much more prone to anterior dislocation of the humerus, and because he's got no pec minor. And they're like, oh, it's all right, just get it out of the way, it's in the road, cut it off.
And that's what he does, He throws a ball.
You throws the ball,
is like,
yeah. So
you can imagine he lost some power out of that.
I don't know if he's still going, but
yeah,
it's just like, yeah, man. There's a million stories like that, dude. And the world is, obviously in the last 5 years, a lot happened in the world, and a lot of awareness has happened. It's probably been part of the pendulum that swings of why it's happened. And now there's a lot more, would you say, distrust, but also just like second thought of, what are these people telling me? Because it was always a like a father-son or mother-daughter relationship with these medical professionals. It was always like, tell me what I do. Fix me. I'll listen to whatever you say. Even though you can go to 10 different ones and you'll hear 10 different things. So they might just go to the first one and think that's it. And they'll be like, oh, my doctor says this. And now it's like people are starting to wise up a little bit. And obviously there's a lot that isn't, but there's a lot that are too. But you're the first person I've seen personally do it in the vet industry. And I've thought that way heaps about that industry. Like,
same.
There's things that never you'll be able to speak more on this, never like sat right with me in saying, if you get your dog dissects, it has a way lower chance of dying of cancer. But I'm like, all right, but why is it, like, surely that's the food still. surely the dog's eating shit and then that's the cancer. And maybe when you cut out the uterus, they're going to have a lower chance of that cancer. But if I feed that dog in a way that's healthy, will it get that? Like, it's not just genetically going to get that cancer, or and I know there's a lot of different breeding and things that have happened since, and maybe there is. I don't know. It's not my topic. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like going back, I was the outlier in the vet like consulting room where people would come in and you'd get your routine vaccine, and the questions that we ask are very routine. And excuse me, you'd ask, "Oh, what do you feed your dog?" And I would be the vet that spoke about nutrition and went deep dive and started, tuning them up on nutrition. So I'm gonna have a quick water. Got something.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I was the outlier in that respect. And then going towards like neutering at 6 months, and that's just kind of the old wives' tale again, is why do we neuter? What's the thought process about that? Of course, taking a significant organ, being the testicles or the uterus and the ovaries, out of a dog is going to influence the metabolic system, influence the hormones. And like logically take all the signs out of the debate, logically thinking about your body. Of course, that's going to change who you are, change how your body interacts, and change your longevity. And it's an organ that's been put there for a reason. Yes, to reproduce, but also to provide hormones to make us fight infection, make us fight all these diseases. So I've always had an issue with that. And the argument from the vet space is, well, if you don't take out the testicles, for example, you could get testicular cancer or you could get prostate cancer. Okay. From a female perspective, you can get uterine issues like pyometra, or you can get mammary cancer. So like that debate isn't strong enough in my mind to be able to go, well, of course, if you take out those particular organs, you're not going to be prone to diseases that are directly related. Because, like someone once said to me, I find very hilarious, is like, take out your brain because then you're not going to get brain cancer. Like it's just a very silly.
Dude, that's what came to my head as you were saying that. I was like, might as well take the brain out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very silly concept. Well, no one actually looks at the flip side. Take out those organs and look at the devastating consequences. And now, thankfully, the research is catching up. And there's this mass study going on in golden retrievers showing that if they're desexed at an early age, it's just leading to many, many issues, from development, from a osteoarthritis, from a joint disease, from a cancer, and tumor growth as well. So the numbers are stacking up, and in a perfect world, dogs aren't desexed whatsoever. But I also understand that's not the full story, and we don't have responsible people out there that will control their dogs, and we don't want irresponsible breeding and numbers to grow, and you can't go to a dog park and dogs are just doing their thing. So there's two sides of the debate, but we as a veterinary industry, we can't desex at the age of 6 months like we have been for decades. We have to push that to 2, 3, 4 years. And if you're a responsible person, and yes, there's plenty out there, then don't desex whatsoever. Feel the mammary chain. And if you feel a lump, then go to the vet and get it sorted. Feel the testicles. And if there's a lump, get it sorted. Like they're the very easy things that people can do at home to prevent the scare and fear mongering around if you do keep those organs. So that's one little, I guess, thing that I'm very passionate about changing, and I'm going to continue preaching.
Yeah. That's, it's what, how do you find clients take this information? Like, say you got a client that comes in, the dog's riddled with tumors or whatnot, or just got issues going on, and they're feeding their dog kibble. Do they accept that? Because you know how like a mother's love generally is stronger for the child than for herself, And I'm sure a lot of these dog owners are like that. Like they'll do whatever for their love, But how do they, like, do you ever say something that's too expensive, or like as in they say that, or how do you get through that?
Yeah, a lot of people look after their dogs a lot better than they look after themselves. And going back to my business of 5 Hounds, it's a premium product. It costs a lot, right? Because it's fresh food and the way it's made. But when I go out and I look at my target audience, and I do home delivery sometimes, I like meeting customers, I like meeting the dogs and doing, consults, physical exams. And I think it's a great aspect for me to get feedback. And I go to homes that are in the middle of Toorak in Victoria that are mansions, and of course those people have money. But I also go to homes where, I can see people are struggling to put food on the table for themselves, but they're feeding my food to their dog. So I think these people, one, I have a lot of people reach out online, and it actually takes that catalyst moment, like you talk about, where the dog's riddled with tumors. And then I kind of broach that subject. Well, let's go back to square one. Like, tumors just don't happen randomly. It's for a reason. And my belief is nutrition is the foundation of life, but there's other aspects that come into it, like neutering too young, like over vaccination, like doing the commercial flea, tick, and worming products, like glyphosate spread all throughout parks, and of course interbreeding as well. And that's not being closely monitored. So there's aspects, but it unfortunately takes that moment for people, fuck, I've got it wrong. And I've let this particular dog down. And then, we have many dogs throughout our life because we outlive them. Their next dog, they are onto it like you wouldn't believe.
With in regards to the vaccination thing, right? So, because when I got my dog, I had its first one. I was meant to take it for its second one. And I was like, again, it didn't sit, like I wasn't vaccinated as a kid. So it's sort of in me already, right? My dad was like that, and said it can't go to the beach for however long till it's whatever age. And I took it to the beach straight away. I just had to make sure it wasn't rolling in shit or anything, you know what I mean? And I mean, she was fine, right? But what's like, is there, because I know there's like the parvo one, but like, and I looked into that too.
There's COVID too.
Is there COVID? Yeah. And I looked into like actually how common that is, and how, well, I mean, from what I saw, from what I was reading, like it's actually not that common unless it's always in certain areas, like similar areas and like kennel type things. But like I'm right near the beach, man, like it's open space, like, but she's not at dog parks and that really, it was like just us at the beach. So what's your, and now she's grown up and she's been on good food from the start. So what's your thoughts on,
like how many vaccinations? Yeah. Cause I saw your post recently and you're saying there's like 30 or 40 different strains in that one vaccination, but then you double up on that and then you keep doing it every year. Like, do you think that's right? Or do you think, you should just do it once like we've done? Or
Yeah. So it's very complicated. And as a vet, I'm not against vaccinations whatsoever because parvovirus is a serious disease that I've seen firsthand kills dogs. It gets very expensive. It's a $50,000 bill for a dog to potentially just die. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and the issue with parvovirus, it does live in the dirt and it lives for 10 years without any. So it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Going back to the veterinary industry over vaccinating is there's no science or common sense that says if the dog has immunity and antibodies to that particular disease, which is parvovirus, that we should be scared of, there's no reason to vaccinate them, right? But the veterinary industry doesn't titer test, doesn't check those antibody levels, just over vaccinates. And when you get into that over vaccinating path, you're putting the immune system under significant stress. You've got issues of reactions, side effects that are also unreported. And there's no point whatsoever in doing it. There's no logic science behind it. So I'm very passionate about incorporating titer testing into the mix instead of the routine vaccine. Going back to how many times should you vaccinate if you're not titer testing? Well, if the puppy gets adequate colostrum from its mum from in the first 12 to 24 hours of life, they generally have immunity for the first 16 weeks, no dramas. It's the science now looks at the immunity wanes a little bit at 16 weeks, and that's when one vaccine should be given. Okay. And like my eldest golden retriever, he's 10. He hasn't got any more vaccines since that point. Yeah. But I sleep at night knowing that I titer test him and he's got the immunity to parvovirus. So it shows that the vaccine can last at length and for a longer period. Whereas if I'd followed the traditional route, he'd be getting vaccinated every year. And that vaccine is redundant, but it's also doing plenty of harm to him and his immune system. So it's funny that you just brought this up. I am so passionate and feel so strongly about this point because I know it's doing damage to dogs and it's unnecessary, that I'm going to be in the next couple of weeks running titer testing pop-up clinics where I'm going to make it at the price point of a vaccine. So it's got no one can make an excuse to go for the vaccine because it's the exact same price. And that's what currently in the vet industry, it's costs a lot more. And it's not widely known. There's not an awareness around it, but it's $400 for a title testing. I'm going to bring it down to, 100, 150, depending on a few things and the insurance. And I'm going to pop up clinics around Australia and make that
Awesome,
assessment.
dude.
And the whole, I guess, philosophy is, yes, one, avoid dogs getting vaccines, but I want to show the veterinary community that there's demand for this and we need to strive for this rather than, I want dogs going to the vet to do the annual health checkups, to get their heart listened to get a veterinary perspective and run their hands over it, because I think that's important where we can prophylactically and prevent things, because they can pick up things prior to their owners. But it's not when you jab them with a vaccine. It's actually, no, we'll check the immunity of the disease. So it's something I'm working and putting a lot of effort into right now. So hopefully there's a good response and I can show vets that, we need to incorporate that into the routine for dogs going forward.
That's a game changer, dude. Well done. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear like how you got on your path and you got a lot of momentum at the moment on your path, and it's obviously your passion, and how almost like the universe forced you into it from, say, whatever your injury was from AFL days, how, you were going down that route, but now it's like you've gone into something probably much bigger and something more eternal than a career, sort of a short-lived career, and something that is going to help the world so much, man. You know what I mean? And what do you feel like is your driving like legacy or goal, or what's your intention behind all of this?
My intention is and it just comes back to I've got 5 dogs, and I want those dogs to have the best life possible. Like that's essential. And I know I'm not the only one that wants that. I know if I speak to 10 people that have dogs, those 10 people have the exact same feeling as I do.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Yeah. So I just think it's going back to, I want to give that person that dream to have their dog for as long as possible, to live the best life, to be able to run around on the beach, to be able to, not be riddled with osteoarthritis, and to be as healthy as possible. And that's, I guess, when it goes to, I think where I can have the most power and effect is it's education and awareness and starting those conversations.
Fuck, that's so sick, man. It's you're so right. Like even Jake was saying, he goes, how good's just feeding your dog and then staying there and watching him eat?
Yeah, I thought when I bought a dog, because like it's a big responsibility for anyone buying a dog. Like, don't buy a dog unless you're ready to friggin' take care of this thing like a child. Sorry, I just didn't know where I was going with that.
I don't know how I was saying when you were feeding the dog, how you just like loved.
Oh yeah. I thought it'd be a chore. Sorry, lost my train of thought. I thought it'd be a chore, and then I was just like, it's my favorite thing ever. I just love don't you reckon?
It's
like
a labor of love.
Yeah, and they know at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, like they start getting all they suck up to you.
It's for people like it's been so worth it, man.
Yeah.
Because for me, I got a female dog, right? And I got a female dog because I feel like she softens me a little bit, connects me a bit more to that sort of feminine energy, and you treat it differently to the guide dog. Like if it was the male dog, would have been like, "Oi, boy, come here,"
Yeah.
But when it's a female dog, even though other people see her as a guy, sometimes they don't know. I'm like, how could you possibly see that little angel as a male? And and all the boys like, "Oh, come here, princess," and
Yeah.
And it's more about the energy when you come home. It's in there. It's like wagging at the door.
Yeah,
and it's like looking at a fire.
Yeah.
Everyone's got this it has an energy about her that we all love. And she takes me for a walk, man. Like I know we're meant to take the dog for a walk, but there's no way I would have walked so much, been in nature so much without her. And she adds years to my life, really, from getting in grounding in the sunlight, and then seeing what they do intuitively, like seeing the very first thing in the morning, man. She sleeps in the crate, right? So it's a favorite little space, right? Very first thing in the morning, I open it up. She comes out, she bows, and she walks straight out into the sunlight. So, and now we all know about this shit in sunlight in the morning, meant to get the early morning rays for your mitochondria and rah. But she didn't need to hear Dr. Huberman talking about that. She already knows that it's part of the game, and like you feel good when you get that light in the morning, and then it makes me, oh yeah, honey, I'll join you. And I go out and I get that light and get charged.
Yeah.
And they just do it naturally.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, like what she'll naturally have a little stretch, like everything's just so present.
Yeah, she like they love sitting in the hammock. They just know. They just know when to sleep.
And how's Jake's got a new red light thing? There's like red light.
Yeah.
And man, the dogs straight up go and sit in front of it.
Yeah, like
I-
first thing in the morning, man, just like sit there.
That's crazy, hey?
Yeah. Oh, he's addicted to it. But
Apparently, a guy sent me a photo the other day. He got one and his dog's doing the same thing.
yeah, someone sent me a photo too.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. But also what I wanted to touch on, bro, was like behavioral stuff with dogs. And oh fuck. Sorry, I just had another fucking slip of the
Maybe it's the gut microbiome.
dude. I think it is. I'm on these new probiotics and I'm fucking losing my mind.
Yeah.
the whole
Oh,
behavioral aspect is, and going back to your excitement around feeding your dogs every day. Like I'm yet to show me feeding my dogs every night online because it is fucking chaos. Like
Yeah.
my
Five
dogs
of
are
them, dude.
so feral, and like people are like, oh my god, this guy's a vet and he preaches all these good things, but he can't even control his dogs. And when I fine tune the recipes that I currently feed, like I can't make my dogs sit and stay for their dinner because they're just like jumping over me, and it's hilarious. But and that gives me joy. Like they
Yeah.
are so excited. They demolish their food and they taste it and they get different protein every day. But going back to the behavioral aspect, like it is directly linked to diet, of course. The way you feel, and like you just need to put yourself. If we eat junk food and McDonald's, which I align very closely to the kibbles of the world, how shit do you feel? You know, like you're sluggish, your brain's not moving,
Yeah.
you got no passion to do anything, you're not motivated. But if you eat a vibrant diet that is popping with color, popping, like I'm just charging around. I feel on top of the world. Body recovers really well. So that's the exact same thing that I like putting into people's minds. Like it's exactly the same to dog health. But with dogs with behavioral issues like anxiety, which we're seeing more and more, I also directly relate that to kibble because it's the sugar spikes and the blood glucose and the insulin that all affects, and it's very difficult to then get on top of those behavioral issues when you're still on a kibble diet because it's just spiked erratic behavior. So you're kind of working against. So my number one thing too, and there's a lot of behavioralists and dog trainers on my side, is the number one thing is let's not talk about behavior. Let's get this dog on a real food diet, and then we can start implementing some things.
Yeah, most people like hit their dogs, you know what I mean? Like if the dog's being mean, and the other day, like my dog's having this behavioral thing where he kind of like watches me walk out, and when I say goodbye, he like flares up, like he starts growling and stuff like that. And then the other day I was just like, fuck you, like, you know what I mean? And we had like this full, like he bit me twice, like fully lost his cool. And it got me to think like, that's not the way to handle it. And what I've been doing is like giving him love instead. Like when he starts to go goodbye, I don't kiss him now because he thinks that he's like, that's like part of me like rewarding him for being angry. So what I do is I just leave and I come back and give him extra love. And I was thinking like how many people, like I had so many people when I got a male dog say, you need to discipline them. Like if they're being an idiot, kick them, hold them down, like and all this shit. And I was just like, dude, it's all fucking backwards, eh?
Yeah, no, those times have definitely changed. It's all about positive reinforcement, and the dogs respond to that.
That's how they learn, eh? It's like it's like when you beat the shit out of them. It's like it's this weird Australian thing where it's like beat them up, let them know who's boss. You're the alpha, which I think you do need to be the alpha, but there's good ways to do that.
Yeah, there's a local dog trainer here called Holistic Hounds. Amazing woman, man. She's got like, he feeds the dog similar ways and has like 6 or 7 dogs that just follow her around like drill sergeant shit. You know what I mean? But basically, I swapped sessions with her, and she for her neck, and she just trains you. Doesn't do shit with the dog. Just trains me the whole time, right? And these are the 3 biggest takeaways that help me because my dog's pretty good. You know, she can sit at the gym here with us at the gym. She can come to the cafe, sit beneath our feet. But it was a lot of work at the start because they're Visslers and they go hard. And I literally took 2 weeks off work and just every day just was so consistent. But the 3 biggest things I took away was sort of like use their energy. So she goes, dogs, treats, no shit, food will always calm their energy and toys will always excite it. And I'm like, oh, just knowing that is such a golden tip, man. Because sometimes when her energy's high, but I know she hasn't exerted the energy yet, I'm like, oh, let's give her a toy and burn out the energy a little bit, right? But then once it's time to break it, I bring the food out and she just stops, you know, like, ooh, and it fully calms her energy. And God, what was another one? There was the, don't don't let them do anything you don't want them to do. How simple is that? Like if I don't want her on the couch, I don't let her on the couch. You know what I mean? I don't let her on. I let her off 4 times and let her on 2 times. You know, and expect her to figure that out. Like it's full consistency, and like pulling on the lead. It was so hard, man. It took me months of honestly like not letting her do that, but eventually I'm like, all right, just got to stay consistent. It was taking me 20 minutes to walk 30 meters because I had to keep doing they pull on the lead, you turn, walk the other way, that thing. But eventually it worked, and eventually I'm like, now I got this pretty well-behaved dog for the next 15 years or so from putting in that work, and now she gets to come out, do things, play. She's got a better life for that initial work I put in, So I think for people listening, work with their energy. Like I can see when I always fatigue her. She's never not had a walk in her life, So if the dog's not fatigued, of course they're going to be sprinting around in the couch. It's a fucking Vissla, like or a cattle dog, whatever it is, like those hybrid dogs. But if you can like work with their energy, burn their energy, you can see when she wants to. Oh, this was the other huge thing: play, explore, and learn. So she plays with me, she explores, and she learns, man. And that's a tired dog, because she can run all day. But she needs to sniff things out. She needs to even just connect with me. And I can tell the time she wants to explore, and I can tell the time she wants to play with me. And if you just flow with that energy, like anything, like a child or whatever, you're going to have a good dog. And if you feed him good shit, it doesn't have these blood sugar spikes. Because it's funny, my roommate asked me before, can you ask him about dogs that get candida on their feet? And I was like, well, it's candida. So it's got to be sugar.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Which is similar thing. So that's your answer to that, right? Kibble, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anything? What's like a lasting message you have for the listeners at home? And obviously, they can source your. Do you post that dog food? Is it just Victoria or?
So as of about a week ago, I silently allowed Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, Tasmania, and ACT to purchase it. I haven't announced that online just yet because I kind of want to slowly organic filter through so we don't get overrun.
Yeah.
But you can purchase 5 hounds up in the Sunshine Coast.
Sick,
man.
Yeah, we'll have to try some, man. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
And lightly cook it, you said?
It's lightly cooked.
Yeah, it's all lightly cooked.
Oh, it comes like that.
It's already lightly cooked, and I think we're the first pet food business in Australia that are manufacturing it that particular way.
Cool.
And I think we're having great success from retaining the nutrients, the aromas, and pretty spot on.
Yeah, man, that's doing God's work, dude.
Yeah,
the dogs,
that's sick. That's like, so awesome.
Moses for dogs.
Yeah, I love this I love this podcast. You get to meet the coolest people doing the coolest shit with the biggest passion.
It's so sick. So the big takeaways I took: lightly cook the dog food. Mix that in. Bring in some nuts. I didn't think about nuts. So that's pretty cool. Nuts, a bit of variety. And just would you say some fruits? Like what sort of fruits would you give a dog?
Honestly, all fruits, and obviously don't do the seeds. The pips.
Yeah.
And skin. That's the same thing. Like whatever fruit we eat, pretty much you can feed to dogs. But a bit of red apple, a bit of pineapple, a bit of watermelon, all those type of nice fruits every now and then, just throw them in.
Yeah, nice. All right, fuck, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So any lasting message for the listeners at home with their little fur babies that you want to give them some inspiration?
Inspiration. I think go back to basics. Start from the start. I'm not preaching rocket science whatsoever. And everyone wants to treat their dog like, their kids. So I think, let's start doing it. And it starts with feeding them real food. And that's what I think you'll avoid plenty of vet visits, plenty of money if you put in a bit of time and energy into it right now. So
yeah, nice.
Shit,
Same as humans.
Yeah,
Same as humans. Yeah, man. If you're ever on the Sunshine Coast, dude, reach out, and we got the gym here, so we'll take a look at the body if you got the other injury still flaring up. Love that.
Very keen.
Do a workout if you ever have any like workshops or anything going on. I feel like your thing would be really good with like a school community, like some sort of online support structure for people. I reckon you'd kill it at that, man. But we'll share what you do, and we'll let you know when this is up, and we'll send you some reels and whatnot. But thanks for coming on, bro. We really appreciate it, and love your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Love to meet you both. Thank you very much. That was awesome. That was cool.
Bro.
Legend.
Right.
Appreciate you, bro.
Have a good day, man.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.